You made some really good points. I just want to weigh in here. Like one of the things that you pointed out that immigrants tend to do a lot better than regular people. Of course, I feel like in many cases that holds true. And just taking a look at the statistics in America, like how many of the top companies, Fortune 500 companies, were co-founded or founded by immigrants? It's a big portion of those companies, right? When you're coming to a country, you might not have a lot of money, but what you often have is a lot of drive. And that makes the difference. And what you pointed out,
Yeah,
which I also totally agree with, being complacent is the kiss of death. It is.
yeah,
Like the moment you start developing entitlement for things and you start taking things for granted, you don't put in the work. We've been talking about giving 100% a lot and being driven. Like these things, I mean, guys, these things are things you can control. Like you can't tell me, oh, I can't give 100% because I don't like my work or because I don't have a vision. Well, that's up to you. This is your job to create this. Like this is not like David's job to create this for you. We can point you in the right direction. I can point you in the right direction how you can develop these skills, and they're all inside of you. I did a couple videos recently talking about the two things that you need to be successful. And one of them is something that the majority of people have. It's an average IQ. Like you cannot be intellectually affected too much. Like if your IQ is way below average, then you might be very unfortunate. But the good news is that 95% of people don't have that handicap, right? So 95% of people have no excuses at all. People are saying like we're living in the worst time possible, really.
it's the
Just
best time. It's the
it's
easiest
the
time.
best time ever, David, right? Look at the amount of opportunities available. It's like a buffet. You want to tell me that living in 2023 is worse than living in like 1910? I mean, this is
Yeah,
crazy. Like before people died from stuff that they couldn't prevent. There were no
yeah,
vaccines, right? Or there was no internet. Like people could only make money through brick and mortar businesses, which are always a
yeah,
huge risk. Like today you can start a digital business and get to like a 70% profit margin. But what you need is definitely an average IQ. But even if your IQ is slightly below average, you can make up this gap. You know how you do it? With your work ethic. I never found myself to be particularly talented or gifted, but where I always excelled is just insane work ethic, insane work ethic. Like some people that I went to school with, they have a lot less money than I do. Or like people, even my friends, we're really good friends. And I have a guy, he was the smartest guy in his university. Like he told me he has an IQ of 145 or so. I mean, it's massive. You know how many people have that kind of IQ? Less than 1% of the population, yet I make a lot more money than him. But I told him, like, with your IQ, you can become a billionaire. Whenever I talk to him, like, about business, and he's brilliant, like, whole analysis skill, like logical thinking, fantastic. But he cannot put in the work. And that's the thing, like you can be as smart as you want, but if you don't have work ethic, then you're not going to get very far. But even if you have a lot less talent naturally, if you can put in the work, man, you can succeed in this game. And guys listening, this is 95% of people. There are really no excuses. And we're no longer living in, like I said, the early 20th century, where there were little
yeah.
opportunities, where there was war, like people were
And
starving.
like a lot of really, really smart people that I know as well, they will be much less risk averse than me. Why? They already have a high paying job. They do like 130,000 a year, 160,000 a year. It's like, okay, well, it's good money, like minus taxes and everything, of course. But okay, and they're comfortable into that. It's like, okay, if this is your choice, well, go to school and have a nice job, and that's good for you. But the big difference is if you decide to immigrate, whatever it is, even for Canadian in Europe or European in Canada, you bring new perspective. You bring a new point of view, and this will make you stand out 100% of the time. So if you go somewhere there's not much immigrant like you, it's going to be much easier to make contact and look smart because you have different idea, you have different point of view. So if you have any small idea, if your person of idea is like, oh, I would love to do this and this and this, like I'm a big dreamer. I'm like, always need a team because I'm good at starting stuff, but I'm not good at finishing it. ADHD, and I love dreaming, and so I need a team. I need people to work with me. You need to compensate with somebody that will be more technical or whatever it is. Like I'm pretty technical, but
I just want to add one thing here. What you have is actually a really valuable skill, like
uh,
big picture thinking. guys, they can make a lot of money. What you also pointed out, which is true for every person, you can't be perfect at everything. You can't have skills at everything, right? You got to specialize. And like you, David, you're the kind of guy who knows how to create a vision and how to structure something. But like you said, the implementation part, right? It's a whole lot of spectrum. It takes so many different skills to do that. So just because you don't have every single skill does not mean that you can't do it. We've talked about this a lot too, David. The businesses that are doing well, a lot of them, I think most of them have multiple partners with different skill sets. And then they just find the people that want to work for the company, that like the vision of the company, that can be motivated. And that's how you do it, right? So you are a brilliant guy, and that one skill can make you a lot of money. Like for me too, and every person now listening, guys, I mean, you can't have skill at everything. Why? It takes so much time, right? It takes hundreds or thousands of hours to develop a skill. Now you can't be perfect at everything, but if you can get a 9 or 10 out of 10 in just two things, it can make you millions, right? But
Yeah.
you can't be like an 8 out of 10 at everything, like soccer, tennis, ping pong, billiards, right? It's not possible. You know, you're going to be maybe like a 5, 6 out of 10, and maybe one of them is going to be 8 or 9 out of 10, because again, this is all tied to your time commitment, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes time
And
to develop these skills.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I know a little bit because we know each other, but I'm pretty much not good at pretty everything I do. Like I'm good at only certain thing. Like a lot of stuff I'm just average, but I know the overall, I understand it. So I can talk with somebody who knows it and understand what they're talking about. And you don't need much more than that. If you have good idea, especially in country like Paraguay, or like you're gonna talk with people and at some point, like don't be scared to talk about your dream. Don't be scared about talking about your vision. Don't go in detail because of course there's the risk of getting your idea stolen and stuff like this. But if you live in this kind of scarcity, you will never talk to anybody. I don't come from a rich family. You need to meet with people who have money. And a lot of people with a lot of money, they want people with vision. They want people with dreams because they have nothing else to do. They are like, oh, I like your vision, I like your dream, let's go. Let's try it. Like for them, like you need to think about this.
Exactly. What I would like to say here is that, and you can control this too. I mean, if you're just good at networking, which you pointed out here, what you really need is just a handful of people that are smarter in certain areas than you are. Because as we talked about too, you can't be great at everything. So if you find someone who has a skill set and an experience, or even if it's just something like finance, money, and you can get that supplemented, then with your skill set, let's say, I mean, we hear that a lot from people that have built businesses and that have sold businesses, that the money is usually the least problem because you always find the money, right? You can find a venture capitalist to inject money in your business, capital into your business. That's usually not the problem, right? But what's the problem is the gap in between, and how do you fill that? Well, it's through connections. And that takes time to build too. It's not like, hey, you go out now with someone and this person is going to inject it immediately. No, that's not how it works, right? You got to really communicate that vision or whatever you need help with, or if you want to partner up, like really make that person feel really confident in what you're doing. This is created over time, right? This is not an overnight thing. But once you have results, it's usually easier to do because people can see, oh, look at his balance sheet. That's pretty damn impressive. You know, why wouldn't I want to invest in that kind of company, you know?
Yeah.
Networking is everything, man. It's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Like, if you can, like, if this is the only skill you have, like, literally, if networking is the only skill that you have, and that's where you're 10 out of 10, you can make millions of dollars. Because if you
Yeah.
can connect people, encourage them, find the right people, I mean, this is everything. And that you can develop too. And a lot of the times, the people that are on top, you know, you hear that from so many people like, I'm only good at this. And you also pointed this out. And I also believe that about myself. I'm not good at everything. I'm mediocre at most things because I can't, right? Or I just don't have the time to develop the skills. But guys, listening now, this should not hold you back because again, these gaps, they can be filled easily, but you have to put in the work. It always goes back, like no matter how smart you are, no matter how talented you think you are, it always goes back to developing hard work ethic.